Welcome to the WP SEO Show, brought to you by SEO Hive, your proactive white label SEO partner. The WP SEO Show is all about talking WordPress and SEO, from optimizations, structures, setups, and plugins. We explore how to make your WordPress website perform better in the search engines. Here are your hosts, Pete Everett and Jeff Patch.
And welcome to this episode of the WP SEO Show. I am Pete Everett and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Mr. Jeffrey Patch.
Hello, thanks for having me. Wait, I'm not a guest, I'm co-host.
You're not a guest, you're a co-host. It's not thanks for having you, it's I've got to put up with you.
Thanks for putting up with me.
All right, now this version of the intro, this is staying in the show.
Well, it's staying in. It's staying in. We might have had to hit stop and re-record already. And then on this second try, poor Pete was really trying to make sure he had his train of thought going, and I was so close to like making faces and trying to throw you off, and then I remembered that we record the video too, and that might come back to bite me.
So in this episode, we are talking all about our WordPress stack for SEO for 2023. Now, I suppose we should start by saying, because we run SEO Hive, we do come into contact with a lot of WordPress websites and a lot of people,
a couple.
Yeah, just a few. And a lot of people, a lot of different approaches to setting up WordPress websites. But there's a few things, a few core plugins and a few bits of software that we use on every website. And they're really the things that we're going to be talking about today. So the first is we always use SEOPress Pro. And that is, well, I've imposed this. This is my SEO plugin of choice. Because it works and it's not full of ads. And there's an interesting story here, because I was once on a show where I was kind of slating Yoast a little bit. And the co-host knew somebody that worked at Yoast, and like 20 minutes later, somebody from Yoast appeared on the call, and I had to kind of defend what I'd been saying, which was which was always fun. But I like SEOPress Pro. Let's just call it SEOPress. There is a pro and a non-pro version. I like SEOPress because it works, because it follows the logic of WordPress very well. So it has that, when you've installed it, it kind of feels like it's part of WordPress and it always should have been there. And because of the speed at which the changes then appear in the search engines. And that's really kind of the point. The reason I like the pro side of it is because with that, it gives you a huge suite of tools, whether you need to produce dedicated schema for stuff, whether you want to submit the website to Google News, whether you want to manage all the local settings and stuff in there. There's a whole load of stuff that's just a pro feature that works. But the real kind of icing on the cake with it is its instant indexing. Now with Bing, that's dead easy. I mean, who cares about ranking in Bing? But it's dead easy to set up that for Bing, because you can go and request your code from within SEOPress. For Google, it's a little more sort of, you've got to go and set up a user with an API key and then import that into Search Console. But you've only got to do it once. And actually, when it's set up, I mean, I've had new pages appear in SERPs in less than an hour with that thing set up. Even quicker if it's submitted to Google News, but yeah, for a standard page. So for me, that's kind of my go-to. And as yet, I haven't found another competitor that can cope with stuff as well as that can.
So I generally agree with you on basically all of those points. I wanted to point out, the kind of defend SEOPress, because I don't want to make it sound like it's their fault, but connecting with the Google instant indexing, all the API stuff, that stuff is just hard. Like, it's just getting the API key, like a Maps API key from Google, is probably one of the most difficult things I've done in my entire professional career. It's like, and you're just requesting a bunch of like digits. Like, it shouldn't be hard, but it is so challenging. So that's the biggest part of it, just getting the darn keys. That has nothing to do with SEOPress. and I was I wanted to like multiple times kind of jump in there because when you're listing all the features of SEOPress, I have to be honest, I can't remember which ones are pro and which ones just come in the free version because the free version is so feature packed. Like the free version is more than probably 99% of websites out there need. And then you throw the pro on top of it, and you've covered all of your bases. You're not going to need any other little, silly plugins to just to add like the Google Analytics code or
Mm.
redirections or things like that. Like these are all basic features that you need not to run on a website in a lot of cases, and other tools, make you pay tons. But I mean, some of these are paid for, but SEO Press is still, it's like 50. It's less than $100 a year. I think it's really cheap. It's not
I've,
a big cost.
yeah, I've just looked it up. So it's $49 a year for unlimited websites, and it's that. But they also have a thing called SEO Press Insights, which is like an off-page um, insights plugin, which helps with things like keywords and with sourcing links and with that kind of thing. Now, I'll be perfectly honest, we have our own processes for that. We have our own tools for that. So I don't use the insight side of it. This is just the SEOPress Pro plugin. And yeah, that's $49 a month for unlimited sites. So it's hardly a bank breaker.
No, yeah, and you're right. There's tons of features in there that I mean we just don't use or don't need to use, or it might only come up in a specific, client situation. Um, I do want to say I'm feeling like we're like just advertising the heck out of SEO Press. This isn't an ad for them. It's just a great product. It's really affordable. But on the flip side, it doesn't matter. I kind of want to stress to people like don't go if you've got something in place, if you've got rank math or you've got Yoast Premium or something and it's doing the job, switching to another one isn't necessarily going to give you benefits. It just
No.
they all basically do the same thing. They try to accomplish the same things as far as delivering your content to Google and all the other features. They all more or less do the same thing. It's a matter of which features come in an affordable product, which ones work well, the interface. You pointed out it feels like it's WordPress. That's such a huge thing for me. Like a
Yeah.
tool, when the tool just wipes the UI and says, "Oh, we're going to do our own user interface." Why? Why are you reinventing the wheel? Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Like just work in WordPress how it's meant to be.
Absolutely. That is 100%. There's two things I want to say about that. The first is the plugin you didn't mention, but that I kind of felt a little let down by was Slim SEO. I really wanted to like Slim SEO. Particularly for I realized it wasn't as feature rich as SEO Press, but actually, you know what? SEO Press is so feature rich that if you do have a small website, maybe it's for a local tradie or something like that, you're talking like 6-8 pages. You just need to make sure the functionality is there. I really wanted to like it. But then there was core stuff missing, like you can't edit the robots.txt file in Slim SEO. So I reached out to them and said, look, I think you're missing a trick with this. This is all of your competitors. Yeah, or list them. Yoast does it, SEO Press does it, Rank Math does it. They all allow you to edit the htaccess and robots.txt file. And Slim SEO's response to me was, oh yeah, here's a help doc on our thing, on our website, and the solution is to go and inject some code in your functions.php file and do it that way. I'm like, that's not, really, really, can't you do better than that? You've managed to code an entire plugin. Surely you can add a feature to it. So that hacked me off. That was the first thing. And the second thing, you're dead right. And yeah, I want to pick up on the fact that you said if you've got something else in place that you like, that you're happy with the results of, and by all means, don't take this as an advertorial for them. And we're not bashing anything else, but this is our SEO stack for WordPress, so we're allowed to have our pick. But if you
Yeah, like
don't have
you're gonna need something. So
that's exactly the point. So if you don't have something in place, start here. This is our recommendation for it. And it almost begs the question of, you need to make sure you have something. Why hasn't WordPress kind of baked this in? Now having these fields, these at the end of the day, they're just like meta boxes, really, aren't they? That are tagged to function in a particular way. But they're such a core part of any WordPress website that goes out there. Um, I don't really know why they're not baked into the core, but maybe that's not WordPress's job anyway. I don't know.
Well,
There's maybe a
no,
different team
actually,
that
you
does
raise a
it.
good point. I think maybe it should. The show might take a little bit of a segue here, but I think it probably should. 'Cause, I mean, I'm thinking back now to just I want to say a handful, but maybe two handfuls of years ago. When we're coding themes from scratch, or we would do a lot of Genesis child themes, very, very custom Genesis child themes. Um, and actually, I might be misremembering some things a little bit, but you can bear with me because I remember Genesis had a lot of the SEO stuff baked in. Maybe it was one that we worked with predated that. But anyway, my point is, we programmed the theme to deliver that meta. Use
Yeah.
the page title as a meta description. So basically, we did the plugin does like 90% of it, and we had that plugged into the theme. And I can't believe I haven't even thought about this until you brought it up, but that's easy enough, and it should probably be WordPress core at this point. Like maybe not every one of these SEO features, but at least like the meta description and the title. I guess it kind of works automatically like that, but it's not guaranteed. So
No, absolutely. No, it would be good to see it baked in. So here we are, the first ever real show of the WP SEO show, and we're already making calls to the WordPress core team. Go and please put these things in, Mr. Automatic. Go do them because they should be there already. Anyway.
well, I
Um
actually really like somebody to tell me why that's not a thing now, because maybe there's a really valid reason why it's not. If you're listening, please email us or tell, because I would love to know. Please educate me on that.
yeah,
I do want to
let them
say,
know.
I know we've kind of probably talked this particular issue to death at this point already, but um, probably the go-to, right, is Yoast. You mentioned Yoast, and you were being so rude with them in another setting, but great tool, but it's the least feature rich one. So it
Yeah.
is, at this stage, installing it, I think is detrimental because it just offers you nothing beyond the absolute minimum. It's fine, it works, but when you compare, when you compare it to any of the other free ones, all the other free ones, whether it's SEOPress or Rank Math, include so much more and allow you to do so much more right off the get go. And then, okay, fine, maybe you want to stick with Yoast and Pay. It's like $200 per like module or something like that. Last time I
Yeah.
looked at it, it's so expensive,
Yeah.
so expensive. So that's I'm sure it performs just as well, but that's why I personally like boom, moving on to something else. Give
Yeah.
me more for my
Absolutely.
money in this day and age.
Absolutely. Does Yoast still put an ad at the top of the editor? That was the other thing that hacked me off. It's like, you're more bothered about your advertising than you are about your functionality. Anyway,
Yeah, it's like
so
part of the wizard. There's all kinds of big pictures and links out, which, and to be fair, if you're giving me a free plugin, maybe that's your right, but you're right. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I don't want it there. I don't want clients
yeah,
to see it. I mean, so
yeah,
whatever.
fully with you there. So the next thing that's a real key part to our SEO stack is a caching plugin, and well, our favored one is WP Rocket, but I'll be honest, I use it because you told me it was a good idea too. So I might let you take the lead on this one.
Well, that's fine, but I'm gonna put you in the hot seat, though. I'm gonna
Oh
put you in the
wow,
hot
okay.
seat. I know for a fact, internal knowledge, that a lot of your clients use NitroPack. And so now I just would like to ask you why.
Well, a few of my clients use NitroPack, and I've been dissuading them from that. Is the whole NitroPack cheating page speed insights thing still a thing?
Okay, see, I was going to ask you. Here's the thing. If anyone is like, what are they talking about? So, arguably, WP Rocket's probably the most popular performance plugin in the WordPress space. I don't know the stats. There might be one that's a little bit more popular, has more downloads than, but the WP Rocket's been around for a long time. Pretty sure it's
Hmm.
safe to say it's the king, which isn't necessarily always a good thing to be. And with any performance plugin or caching, or I'm coming at this from like a developer's point of view, it's so easy to throw all these enhancements on and just completely destroy your site. Like, when you start dequeuing JavaScript, okay, should be a good idea. But if your theme relies on it, there's a problem there, and you've got to resolve that properly. And if you don't, well, when users go to the website, you know your slider doesn't work, or your forms aren't don't submit, things like that. So many multi multiple, way more than multiple. What's the multiple of multiple, Pete?
Well, yeah,
Mul-
yeah.
Multitude.
Multitude. The one that's really funny is when the jQuery doesn't load. So the loading animation, you could the website's loaded in the background, but the loading graphic that's on the top can't disappear because there's no JavaScript to get rid of it.
Oh, jeez. Well, that's funny. Okay, here we go. ADHD segue here, but I've seen this a few times semi recently too, and it's a few. We have, if you don't know, my other business has a lot of white label clients, and so we've got a couple sites that these teams have built, and they use like a preloading animation because there's so many graphics and fancy stuff happening on the homepage, and that's a whole other discussion. That's not necessarily a bad thing in these examples. It's just their homepage. And the preloading graphic, it does make sense from like a kind of user experience standpoint in these examples. But then we threw WP Rocket at it, and one of the developers went and just checked every single box. He's like, "Well, let's get every option possible. Everything's going to help." And the big one is, well, actually the big one, but the delay JavaScript execution. Good concept. Well, how does it know when to stop delaying when you interact with the page? Well, what people were doing, so when you move your mouse, on your computer, you've probably got your mouse in your hand, you move the cursor, the web page is smart enough, it says, oh, okay, we're going to load the rest of those files. Well, on mobile, with the little preloading animation, what happens is you hit enter, you load the website, and then you just stare, and you just stare, and you see this thing just spinning. And they were like, hey, our website's taking like 25 minutes to load. It's like, no, it'll take 1 second. You just have to interact. And obviously, that's a poor user experience. We learned very quickly. Don't,
Oh
you
yeah.
know what I mean? We're not going to delay the JavaScript when you've got a preloading animation. But I have no idea how I went on such a segue and rant there when we're trying to talk about WP
So
Rocket. But
no. Well, I mean, so the the plugin I used to use more than WP Rocket before we started SEO Hive was Breeze by Cloudways, but that was because all my stuff's hosted on Cloudways, and the Breeze plugin also cleared the varnish cache on the Cloudways server, which other plugins claimed to do, but it wasn't ever quite as reliable. And Breeze did a good enough job, so that was what was there. Um, but I mean, Cloudways they're now quite complicated with their caching, and this podcast isn't really about Cloudways, I suppose, but they can be quite complicated with their caching. They still have varnish on the server side, but they now have the object cache, which is held browser side, I believe. And then you can have your caching within your plugin. So it even and Breeze doesn't clear them all. So yeah, hence I wasn't sort of too tied to it, but that was why I kind of used it in the past, because it came from my host. Um, but a funny thing about WP Rocket, just to sort of close this one out, so we have a client site which the client hosts. They have an IT company here in the UK that they host it with, and it's hosted on a cPanel instance somewhere. I don't know what it's on, but yeah, it's managed by cPanel, and we had WP Rocket in there, and we had an issue with the site whereby so these are a retainer client of ours. Every week we'd run a new health check on their site, and we had this issue whereby every week there was 2 or 3 different pages were coming up in our audit report for slow speed. And they, so the first few weeks, yeah, okay, we're going to look at the pages, we'd fix something on them, we'd maybe, I don't know, optimize the images or whatever, and move on. But this was happening like every week, just a different random 2 or 3 pages. So we finally got in touch with the with the server company, and said, look, this is happening. Can you look? Are we hitting limits somewhere? What's going on? This now starts to feel like it's something that's your side of things rather than the code or website or stuff. And their solution was to come back and say, oh well, you're not using light speed cache, which is what comes with cPanel. So right, okay, can we change it over? So I agreed, but before I agreed, I went and took some speed tests of about half a dozen pages of the site, still with WP Rocket on, and then sent the email. Yep, feel free, go and deactivate WP Rocket, stick Lightspeed Cache on, and see what it does. They were so much slower. So like 20 minutes after that, I'm emailing them back saying, switch Lightspeed Cache off. We're going back to WP Rocket. Whether you like it or not, you're not performing. So, so there you go. That, I mean, real world
Yeah.
case, it just kind of works.
Well, that's what's important. What works in the real world, and we're in a similar, situation as with the SEOPress and the other SEO plugins. Is that these performance plugins more or less do the same thing. Just how well do they do it? How,
Yeah.
what are the fallback plans? Um, I've used WP Rocket for years, 4 or 5 years probably, and happily paid for it. They've they've had some updates that things have broken. These plugins try to optimize all themes, any theme. There's what, hundreds of thousands of themes out there that are all coded by who knows who. I mean, it's very difficult to kind of make something that works for everything, but I'll be darned, it works pretty darn well 99% of the time.
Yeah.
I haven't with the, what was it, Nitro pack that we were talking about earlier. If anyone isn't aware, we were talking about the controversy when they first came out. They kind of used some trickery to um, to fool. I don't know. I don't want to accuse them of using trickery or fooling the test, but that's my understanding of the situation. And they use some creative ways to kind of make those tests go, ooh, 100 or 99, and it wasn't really a real world, applicable. I'll be honest, from that point on, I've just turned my mind off to it. I'm just not interested in it, kind of because of that. And the handful of times that it's come across my desk, hey, we have a problem, can you analyze it? And it's, NitroPack's at the core of it, which has happened with other ones. I'm not saying NitroPack is at fault. It's another one of those ones that there's so many options, people can get trigger happy and just click everything in there and cause all kinds of mayhem. So yeah, it can be fun times. And there was a time Breeze worked just fine for us too, and it had some problems, so we went back to WP Rocket. I mean, when you're running a business, you go with what works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, talking about what works, we're now going to talk about image compression. Now, we have a few takes on this. So, I mean, from a plugin point of view, I use EWWW, or I believe it's called, but I might be wrong. We also use or have used Shortpixel. In all honesty, we use Shortpixel for a long time, and if a site has Shortpixel on it, we haven't changed it off. We still have some credits there, monthly credits, and they work fine. But for new sites, we use and I feel weird saying that every time. Largely
Yeah,
because
I don't know what it's called. I have a hard time believing that they named their product Ew, but maybe, I
ooh
don't know. I don't know.
ooh.
At least it's memorable.
But yeah, absolutely. Maybe it's like EWWW, but I don't know.
Ooh.
But the reason I like it is because of the ease at which it deploys CDNs. And I mean, I'm on, like I was saying to you before the call, Jeff. I'm not on the unlimited plan. I'm on the next one down. And I did get like a 15% for life off voucher, but it was still only $25. So like it's taking it down to like 21.25, I think I pay each month. And it does, I'm gonna say, a couple of 100,000 images a month, which for the clients that we run it for is more than enough to share amongst them. And even if I wanted to go up to the unlimited plan, I still think it's only like $40 odd a month anyway. So it's still, it's massive value for money, and we have the CDN rollout. But I know you have some thoughts about whether CDNs are worth it. And listeners, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen at home, welcome to one of the debates that we have on our weekly SEO Hive team calls.
Which is really the whole reason we decided to start a podcast. We're like, we keep having these discussions, and I don't want to say arguments, but I mean, heated discussions, passionate discussions, maybe. But really, we just need to record these and turn them into a podcast because we're so entertaining and so knowledgeable and so what. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, we
Okay.
think we're entertaining. The how well this goes is going to determine whether we're actually entertaining.
Well, the analytics shall tell the truth. Um, Okay, so CDNs are great. I've got no problem with them. I think they're fantastic. I think big global websites need them. I think small local businesses do not. And I say that based on a few dozen experiences. Okay, I admit this isn't like, I haven't done massive tests and, analytics of all this stuff. But here's the real world experience that we've had. And on our most of our website maintenance and care clients are white label, so we have kind of a set scope of what we can do and what we do, and of course what we are willing to invest in, a low budget site, or what I mean, so one that we don't charge a ton for. But then we have a lot of direct agency clients too, or direct clients rather, small business clients that pay a full care plan price, and with them we always try to give way more value. Well, with everybody, we like to give them more value than they really pay for. But specifically with them, we've got the budget to do it, right? Because
Hmm.
they're paying $200-300 every month. So spending $10 a month on a CDN for them is easily something that we can put in the budget. And I want to say, well, I tested out a few. I remember Bunny CDN was one that was highly recommended. It was really affordable. Key CDN was another one that was highly recommended and was pretty affordable. And we bought like 100 gigs of data, and that 100 gigs of data lasted like 2 years, which was awesome. Like it was for what it was serving. Like it's so much data. Like I mean, some websites can eat that up really quickly, but we had a dozen client websites on it. But when we were doing the performance testing, um, we noticed, and I should also add that all these servers they're just small, like 2 GB DigitalOcean or Vultr servers, but they are in the local area for those businesses. So if a business is, if their business is in Seattle and that's where their customers, we host them in a Seattle data center, or one that's as close to Seattle as possible. Same thing with our customers in Los Angeles and New York, and so on, so on. And we just saw faster results from those areas when they just served the files from their local server. When they were using the CDN, it was slower. Uh, Time in and time out. When you do it from a global, if somebody from across the world is trying to connect to that website, yes, it helps big time. But when all your customers are local, I just don't see the point anymore.
And I think you raise a key point, because this is something that people don't think about anymore, because of the type of world we live in, the way the internet works now. We don't think about the location of where stuff is stored, and it's maybe it's some, because I have a good portion of my clients that are in the US. Um, I can tell an instant lag from my side of things when we're working on sites that are for US clients, because we will host them in the US, because it is better experience for the client and for their, for the client's clients. But yeah, we don't often think about it anymore. But if you are working on a site which is, as you say, in Seattle, or a place where where there's a data center nearby, and you can host that website there, and the client themselves is only really looking at local search, is only really serving images to, content to people in that locality, then yeah, a global CDN is probably overkill. And as you say, problem with problem with activating a global CDN on your website is you are removing the control over where those images are served from, and you are banking on the fact that the CDN will have a server closer to the user than where the website's hosted. That's what you're banking on. But actually, if all of the customers to that client are bang near the key server anyway, you may as well just let it do its job and get on. You're adding more complexity than is necessary. So I fully take the point, and actually, it's probably something that maybe if anybody's listening to this 28 minutes in, that we're that I'm guessing most people don't actually think about the location of their servers, or they might just think, hey, it's in the right country, which in England you'd get away with. In the US, it is a little bit of a different picture.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
yeah.
we have in the U.S. here, we've got big data centers for some of the big providers in like Chicago, Dallas. Those are and because those are relatively central. But I'll be darned if I have done the tests from one that's local to San Francisco or Seattle versus Dallas. And I mean, we're really splitting hairs, at this stage. Like we're really going, there's 0.01 second improvement 4 out of 5 times when we test it. I mean, it really kind of split hairs, but it does, like, these are measurable things. Yeah.
So the final part, and now I'll be honest with you, this is maybe more part of my stack than Jeff's stack, and it's not necessarily something at SEO Hive that we would install on every website. We should say at SEO Hive we make sure that every website has some kind of SEO plugin, and if they don't, we put SEOPress Pro on there. We always make sure they have a caching plugin, and if they don't, we make sure it's WP Rocket. And image optimization is a little more hit and miss. We do that on the basis of some tests. For my personal retainer clients through my agency, we also use an internal linking platform. Now, that's normally one of two things. We either use a system called InLinks, which is an external offsite thing that uses JavaScript in order to build internal links, or we use a plugin called Internal Link Juicer. And what Internal Link Juicer does is when you create a piece of content, it allows you to declare the keywords that you want internal links to that piece of content to use. And then as users are using your site and content is loading, it then goes and injects those links, internal links, in other content on your website back to that piece of content where you've declared the keywords. So it's basically an internal linking plugin, but there are parameters you can set. Pages you want excluding from links. So like homepage, for example, we'd exclude that, and you can also set things like link density. So if you are, let's say you don't want links within 300 characters of each other, for example, so it will exclude certain pockets of text, and it will also.
Strategy doesn't work. I thought you could link like every other word to something, and you get all the.
Yeah. Back in 2004, you could. You can't anymore.
If you're old enough, folks, you remember those days.
So yeah, and can you remember the footers at the bottom that had all the locations with duplicate pages, and the only text that was changed was the friggin' town name? Yeah, you can't do that anymore either.
Bob's Plumbing, Los Angeles. Bob's Plumbing, New York. Bob's Plumbing, heck.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you used to color them the same color as the footer, so they're all very close, so that they weren't very obvious when they were down at the bottom of the page, and make the font really, really small. Yeah, you can't.
I used to even see people do that on. I don't know if Craigslist is big in the UK, but Craigslist ads, they would do that. They would use HTML codes, and they would make it all white, a white on white text. And if you're looking for a Dodge car, it would Dodge, Toyota, Honda. So then they just ruin all the searches when you're.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. So the final thing you can do with Link Juicer is you can split terms as well. So if you have a keyword that maybe might have different color variants in it, then you can have like a start keyword, then a variable, then an end word as to make up a term. So it is quite cool. It does work quite well. It's and for something that works on site rather than having to employ, and it's free. So rather than having to employ an external service to come in and worry about load times and all that kind of thing, it's pretty good. So that's I think that's really it from a plugins point of view. Hi everyone, sorry to interrupt the recording so abruptly, but as Jeff and I were talking, we realised that the episode had gone on for quite a long time, but we'd covered a lot of really good stuff, so we didn't want to edit any of it out. So rather than doing that, we decided to split the show into 2 episodes. So thanks for listening to the first half, and please tune in next week where we will continue our exploration and our explanations about our WordPress SEO stack. We'll see you then.
The WP SEO show is brought to you by SEO Hive, your agency's proactive white label SEO partner. We understand that finding a reliable SEO supplier is key to ensuring you build stable monthly recurring revenue into your digital agency. At SEO Hive, we have a suite of products that will help you sell, scale and deliver your monthly SEO retainers, from our Scout reports and one-off technical boosters, to our flagship local SEO and honeypot plans, all of which have clear pricing and monthly deliverables. If you want to explore how SEO Hive can help your agency deliver high-quality and reliable SEO agreements for your clients, you can find more information at seohive.co and schedule a call to discuss the next steps.